can hear that. Mourners chanting, Navalny, Navalny. Here's the live look that we do have at Moscow, where the funeral of Putin critic Alexei Navalny now underway. That's the cemetery where he is going to be buried.
That was some footage of crowds attending the funeral of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny. And while the Kremlin did eventually allow the funeral to take place, they made it as difficult as possible. And they've treated both Navalny's family and his supporters brutally since his death. He passed away a couple of weeks ago. Since then, Russia states he died of natural causes. Everyone has a pretty good hunch that is a lie. President Joe Biden has blamed Putin for Navalny's death. That seems an obvious truth when you consider how many of Putin's enemies have mysteriously passed away, often due to poisonings. Trump has refused to blame Putin for Navalny's death, of course. Instead, has repeatedly compared himself to the deceased opposition leader. It's estimated that thousands of Russians attended Navalny's funeral. Very brave of them. Police presence was heavy. Attendees were blocked from entering the church and cemetery during the church service and burial. A few later were allowed to toss some earth on the casket. It also appears the Kremlin tried to keep information about the funeral from spreading, lowering the internet and cell phone speeds around the area drastically. Also, since Navalny's death, police have detained hundreds of people trying to lay flowers at monuments to political repression to honor him. After authorities initially refused to hand over Navalny's body to his mother, his team accused them of continuing to try and disrupt the burial, alleging funeral homes and cemeteries were pressured not to help them. Navalny spokeswoman Kira Yarmysh said that they were struggling to find a hearse to carry his body because undertakers were allegedly being threatened. Moscow authorities on Thursday also refused to authorize a request to hold a memorial march on Saturday of up to 50,000 people. A liberal opposition activist posted a photograph of the refusal from Moscow's mayor's office, citing COVID restrictions as justification for blocking the march, despite Moscow not enforcing restrictions in the city since the early months of the pandemic in 2020. Repression, which has always been very bad in Russia, has gone to 11 since the invasion of Ukraine, with virtually no public protest allowed in the country.
We might have millions of people watching this show, but you can be the difference maker, because we just need 1% of our audience to be paid members, and then this show can be around forever. So you can make that difference. Click join now. Look, whether the Russians specifically killed him on that day or they poisoned him earlier in 2020 and then they put him in an Arctic prison and he died because of that, it killed him either way. So the Trump not speaking out on that is outrageous, and then pretending he's like Navalny, further outrage, so of course. And so the Russians with their excuses are hilarious. Because of COVID restrictions. They haven't done COVID restrictions since 2020. I think that they put out those statements as a way of rubbing it in people's faces. There's no freedom here, and you must agree to the absurdities that we put out, and there's nothing you could do about it. And it's depressing, but nevertheless, 91 people arrested in 19 different commemorations of Navalny already, let alone what's to come. I think that the people who are protesting the Russian government are the bravest people in the world. They're amazing under the most oppressive circumstances with one of the worst leaders in the world. They still go out there, and there was also a chance for peace. And one of the chants were the Ukrainians are good people. I love that. So every supporter of Navalny, thank you on behalf of the rest of the world for speaking out for freedom.
I would just underscore what Cenk says when it comes to courage. I mean, there is another level of courage for those who are out there in any way, because it is a brutal, brutal clapback that the Russian government does in the name of justice.